What's up, people? Today's vlog, we are going to Jackson, Michigan. We are having an insurance seminar over there. So we are about to leave now. I'll see you guys there. I might go live. So stay tuned. Guys, we are here. We are just preparing. It's a nice setup they did for us. Buffalo wings in there. I'm not gonna show it. I have prepared some Hawaiian bread, salad, appetizer, fruits, chips, and cookies, and they're gonna have coffee and tea later. Water. So, it's nice setup. They did a great job. Well, hopefully all of them is gonna show up tonight. That would be great. And I have these prepared. Yeah. And here's my hubby, Greg Piorkowski. There's not a lot of people here right now, so hello everyone. I'm praying that all of them's gonna show up. It'll be a great success for today. Yep. What? I'm recording.
See if I can see that.
Say it again, baby. JXNER. Guys, stay tuned. Just waiting for people to come. It's now 5:30. No. Yeah, it's 5:30. So, what's your name?
Hey, we're getting ready to actually launch two different things. We're going to be launching a retirement strategy planning
Are you gonna do that for you?
program. Oh, what am I doing?
Are you gonna do the second too?
Well, am I still talking?
Yeah.
Oh, I am sorry. Well, we're getting ready to launch two different things. We're going to go ahead and start here in about 6 o'clock a retirement strategy program for everything that's happening here in COVID. Folks are getting ready to retire. How to move their money around, how to get guaranteed income, how to straighten out their retirement so they don't have to worry about basically how to have a move. Then we get enough interest. We're going to stick around and do another presentation here at 8 o'clock. I'll show you how to run through how to actually build a business by what you're already doing. Using the super app, which is going to
Shop, save, get an instant cashback.
That's right. So come back more.
Blah, blah, blah,
and
blah,
talk more.
All right, bye-bye. We're still waiting, guys. Actually, we will start at 6 p.m. So people will be coming soon. Waiting. Yeah, waiting.
Yeah, I wish I did. I'm not 60. I guess I didn't have to set up everything after the first week, and then now you guys are here.
They're coming.
Don't forget, we don't need that. You can get going. All right, guys, I know there's a lot of people in the room, so I'll open down the space. Everybody spaced out enough? Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. Just kind of some, just a little bit about our company, kind of what we do. But before we get started, there's a couple things that I always ask everybody I talk to when they come. I want you to figure out and remember why you came here. Whatever reason brought you here. If it's strictly for Social Security, if it's for retirement strategies, it's for learning something different that you think we might be able to discuss, remember why you came. And when you leave, if you don't have that answer, let me know, okay? So, a little bit about us. You received some sort of advertisement or marketing through Facebook or something, didn't you? Is that how you got it? Okay. So, we've been around since 2006, all right? My office was based out of a little town called Vicksburg, Michigan, over by Kalamazoo, if everyone knows where that is. We had a sub-office in Chelsea, Michigan for quite a while, and over by the Ann Arbor area as well. And then we had a small office in Battle Creek. So we've done some things for over the years. Our background, as far as what we do, I was in the military for 10 years. I was able to do that. I was happy to serve my country. Got out and I did my 10-year commission and stepped back. And I found the joy in building businesses and being with my family. When I was in the military, I wanted to actually become a prosecutor. And I was going to get out and work with a couple local folks in Alabama, New Mexico. They were retired district court judges from Washington. And they asked me if I wanted to spend time with my family or if I wanted to be in law. And I said my family, so I decided to be an attorney. So I took that education and moved forward. But I'm married with now 10 kids. Isn't that great? Interesting. I've got, our oldest kids are 20 years old and they go all the way down to the youngest of 15. 3 grandkids, pretty happy about that. And I'm only 72, so I'm getting rid of that. I'm not 70. I take good vitamins and supplements. We'll talk afterwards. It's fantastic. Now, we're still young. Jenny and I, she's my wife back there. When we put this company together, I just did it with my bare hands. I didn't go out and buy a book of business. I didn't know anything about the insurance world. I opened and closed and rebuilt companies. That's what I got good at. People brought me in to rebuild them, and then I stepped out and I rebuilt them and stepped out. What brought me into insurance is when I pulled my brother out of the water when he was 18 years old. He drove into a wave, became a quadriplegic, and sleeping very good. It was pretty instantly when I was 15. So I watched that planning from my parents of how that worked on income and insurance and annuities and Social Security and disability Social Security. I watched it at a young age, and that stuck with me on all the different planning that I've seen and how that changes things in just an instant. From watching them dive into the water to instantly seeing a 6'9" guy floating in the water and flipping him over and saying, "I can." Life changes like that. And because of the proper planning that my dad had, it didn't really affect us growing up. We could still keep doing what we were doing. And I learned years later it was because of proper planning, understanding how things work in retirement, how to get there to retirement. Most people my age at 48 years old don't plan for retirement. Don't know who about it. I mean, I'm worried about it, unfortunately. That's the age that I live in, and we're not the best of age groups. The group that my kids are in are probably going to be a little bit better off because they're going to put back into the real life stuff. So when we put our agency together just to go way forward through them, we opened it up and we started just doing a lot of retirement planning. And I was talking to these folks 2008 and 9 when we had seen the economy change, and a lot of things were different. The market reset. It resets every 10 years. It just took a 4-year delay, and it tanked. No different than 2002 or back further. It happens. But in 2008 and 9, people got more interested in Social Security. Not that they weren't before. They were, but they got more interested in it as a primary form of income. Because a lot of school teachers, a lot of nurses, a lot of doctors, a lot of people that had $500,000 401ks had a 201k. It was 250. Some people didn't have that effect. But generally in Michigan across the board, that's the effect we've seen. So I dipped into understanding how could Social Security be more helpful to people, and how could we use that to help in retirement? And how could you use it to maintain saving some of your assets? Well, the fast forward is that, as I understood that, I put together an agency, I built a book of business on my own. We were pushing $10 million a year through for a long time, and that's what we, continue to do for many years, and we still keep doing that. But in 2016, life hits again, doesn't it? And my 15-year-old son was in a car accident. The driver was still wrapped around a tree, and they took part of my son's skull off, and he sat with it off in the freezer at Bronson, and we went to American for bed for 4 months. Life changed just like that. Instant. All over again. I'm watching my son now learn how to walk and talk and breathe all over again, and I did that when I watched my brother do it, but he stayed quiet. My son Isaac, instant. All over again. And because life just happens, and when it does, you're either going to ride the wave, or you're going to get bowled over by it. You don't have an option. But if you plan properly, you can handle it. And we had planned it properly enough that I could step away from my agency and operate it. God's a big part of my life. I'm not afraid to tell people that. I don't want to offend anybody, but God's a huge part of my life. Because I watched the son with 50 different tubes coming out of his head and his skull in the freezer, and learned how to take 5 steps 4 months later. But the proper planning kept us to where I could step back from my agency and work at home and take care of my kids and my wife and help my son get back to 2 years later and back to 2018, and now we're in 2021 and he's going to school for pastoral, he's driving, he's living all these others. But I was able to, because of the proper planning, I understood how everything worked together with an autistic son, with social security, disability, and all that stuff. I understood all those things. And it all became proper planning. So, I'm very clear on why you're here today. You wanted to learn more than what you know now. It's something you maybe wanted to change in your life that affected you along the way, brought you here. And very clearly, I'm here to grow my agency. I'm here to get customers and clients. But I want you to hide your purses and wallets and don't bring them. We're here just to do an educational thing and to learn. And in hopes that as you walk away today, you may see value in what we're doing. And you may already be working with somebody that's done an amazing job. But as my son had different doctors who specialized in different areas, as my sister's a neuro doctor, the chiropractor couldn't come in and take my son's skull and put the bone back on, but he could straighten the bones out. And the dentist couldn't come in and stitch his arm up, but he could yank out the teeth. Each person does their own area, and they do that for a reason. So you're here today for whatever reason, what it is. The understanding that I have on what we're going to talk about is not because I read everything, and I did. I can give you the book that's thick, and you can learn all 107 ways to file Social Security. If you can't go to sleep during COVID, then I'll send you the book, and we can come up and go to sleep, because it'll put you right to sleep. But on my knowledge, I didn't learn from the book. I read it and absorbed it, but most of the knowledge I'm going to give you is from what folks like you have taught me, and because of what I've walked through. That's what you're going to get. Okay. So we're not going to follow all the slides. The disclaimer is I'm not a lawyer. I have a law background, and I understand it. I'm not an accountant. We have an accountant company that works with us, both in Battle Creek and in Kalamazoo. And there's a small one here in Jackson outside. I'm not a realtor, but we have a realtor that works with us. I don't sell home and auto, but a buddy of mine runs an agency. I have 150 years of a marketing firm down in Florida that handles everything behind us as I deal with business personally in 4 different states. And I just recently took over the Veteran Affairs Administration Advocate Program. So I handle all the people that are retiring in 5 states right now. So I'm pretty proud of that, because it took us a while to get there. So we've got business in many different areas. Jackson's a hometown of me. I grew up in Litchfield, Michigan. Dunaway County, right up the road. Go right through 8 and down 223 Old Farm Town. I spent a lot of time in Jackson growing up. So they have a hallway mall. It's kind of interesting. I always thought that was kind of cool. So the mall's a hallway. It opens up into something. But so we're going to talk about that. Now, are there any lawyers or people from the state representative auditors want to come and see how I'm doing today? Every once in a while they show up. So I always ask because they have to tell me if they're here. So that's okay if they are. I had one come to a seminar 3 seminars ago. And because that person came, I actually got business because the company never done. Maybe it's because the food now. By the way, those are home ones. I don't believe in buffeting stuff and bring stuff in home cooked. She's my wife and my guide, and I wouldn't be right with her. So I'm thankful that she's here. So enough of that. Here we go. Participation questions are good. You can ask questions as we're going on the way. Try to keep to a minimum. If there's a serious question, write it down. I think it's answer. Okay. Fill the surveys out. We're going to do. For those that set an appointment with us, during your survey in, we're going to go ahead and do a drawing. I have a little phone app here that has 600 stores in there. You can pick whatever store you want. You get a $30 certificate. I'll text it to you as soon as you add a first appointment. You get it right there. Kohl's, Burger King, wherever you want to go. This is going to be a 1-hour strategy session. The Social Security is, understanding it's just a small piece of what we do. You're going to understand how Social Security is just a puzzle in your retirement. People didn't understand until 2008. A lot of people don't. And I'll tell you what, Social Security at the end of the day is just an insurance policy. That's all it is. You really understand what it is. If you don't like insurance, it's one of those things that some people don't like, but everybody has. Social Security is just an insurance policy. That's all it is. Okay? And go ahead and fill out the worksheet. So this is what we're going to do. Turn off your phones, put them on vibrate. The bathrooms go out to the right, around the corner. The bathrooms are down there. We're going to get out of here on time. I don't like to talk. I'm shy, so I have to kind of scoot on. But so if you have a question, just let me know. Is hope you're planning for retirement. That's the big thing. As I talk with folks about Social Security planning and Medicaid planning, I ask them, what is your plan for retirement? Well, I hope I don't lose my money. Well, I hope Social Security's going. I hope my 401k doesn't go away. I hope my life insurance is there. Hope is not a plan for retirement because your neighbor's brother's uncle's cousin that did school for a living told you what he did and it worked for him. I hope it works for me too. Hope is not a plan for retirement. I want to take hope away from you tonight and give you firm foundations. Hope is a good thing to have in a different sense. But to hope your retirement doesn't go anywhere isn't the way to plan. Because you don't have to plan like that. You don't. When my grandfather taught me this phrase here, he always asked me, what script are you using for retirement? Are you using your parents' script? Are you using your friend's script? That, well, Bob did this for retirement, and this, and it worked for him. But I'd wager to say not anyone in here has the same outcome and the same estate or the same situation, so the script wouldn't work for everybody in here. Are you using your script or somebody else's? That's important. And are you willing to learn how to surf? You guys have been surfing over the last time with COVID. How have you enjoyed COVID situation? Yeah. Somebody told me they had COVID groceries and COVID hair and COVID memory and all this stuff. A long time ago in the military, I had to learn how to surf. I was bored. It was either the desert or it was the ocean. So, one thing I learned about surfing is you get paddle out and the water's dead for a while. And you wait for the wave to come. And you're waiting for it to come. But if you don't know how to stand up on it, what's going to happen? You're going to get run over. Well, COVID hit us back a few months ago. And we don't have any control over it. But you do have control over your own assets. So do you want to learn how to surf and ride on top? Or do you want to get rolled over by the water? Many people during COVID, because of whatever choices, got rolled over by the water. Some people chose to surf. And they made it through. Very humble. We had one of our best years during COVID. We doubled our company during COVID. I only say that because you hear the negatives about all these companies that were closing, and downsizing, and going backwards. Our insurance agency doubled during COVID. And it was just the perspective that we were looking at. That's all it was. Okay? I wasn't any more valuable than anybody else was. We were just out doing what we were doing. Okay? So you can serve. Different questions. Does it make more sense to take an early retirement at 62? Does anyone know when it makes sense for you to retire and take Social Security? If you were to ask me a question, Greg, what's your first name? Yeah. Debbie. I'm going to remember that, Debbie. Hopefully, I got Alzheimer's disease. If you were to ask me, Greg, when's the best time for me to take Social Security? Without sitting down with you, without a sales pitch, without knowing your situation, I would say, Debbie, I don't know. Because on some situations, you can wait till you're 72 and a half, and you can wait that long, and if your full retirement age is 68, you can still let it go out till 72 and a half. The R&D age used to be 70 and a half. If you didn't know, the R&D rules changed last year. Required minimum distributions, we'll talk about that. You could let it sit to 72 and a half and live off all your investments and let Social Security grow. It's a strategy. Or do you need to take Social Security now and hopefully have your assets grow because you need that later more than you need Social Security? So I don't know the answer. And it's not a sales pitch to get you to fill a survey out. I'm going to be very truthful with you. I'm going to come at you straightforward. I only have a suit on because I'm supposed to. But I'm going to come at you straight. I don't know the answer to that until we sit down. The answer is going to be different for everybody. It's got to go what your script fits for you. And that's the answer. When do you draw Social Security? You're 62 years old. Do you draw right now? I don't know. The only time that I can tell you is if someone says, Greg, I have no assets, I have no income, I have no bills, and I have nothing coming in but Social Security. Do I draw it? Yeah. I can tell that person confidently, yeah, you need to draw. That's your need. That person I can confidently tell that this way. But everything else it varies. There's a strategy, and we learn that along the way of how to use Social Security to benefit. Okay. Your full retirement age, 50% of the population files at Social Security age 62. And they do it because that's what they're told on TV. They're told by their neighbors, brothers, uncles, cousins, take Social Security, it's going to go bankrupt. If you don't take it now, it's going to go away. You guys are fine. But we don't know. We don't know. But the truth is I'm not going to do it. I did it here earlier and I almost got the carpet wet. I got excited. You said you get excited. Social Security is like a bucket of water. And you have a bucket of water at age 62. And if you turn it on, they pour that bucket a little slower. Now, when you take it at 65, they pour a little faster. You take it at 68, they pour a little faster. Why do you think your income raises the older you get? Because they got to pour out a life expectancy at a period of time. That's why you get more, because your life expectancy shortens, and they need to pay it out at a period of a life expectancy. So the bucket of water has to tip faster. And when it gets empty, they'll still pay it. Some people love it. But that's where it happens. It's a bucket of water that has to pour based on life expectancy. Okay? So that's why you get more. Okay? So, so be careful. Only 1% of the population actually delay till age 70. Those are the folks that have planned along the way, that have 401ks and IRAs, certificates of depreciation, and all those different things that people have, pensions, retirements. And they don't need Social Security action. So they wait as long as they have to, and then they have to take it at 72 and a half. That should be outdated, because the R&D rules changed. So now they have to take it, so then they have to. Which raises their tax bracket, so they get frustrated. So there's a whole different thing. How do you maximize Social Security? Well, it's, simple numbers. 1935, August 14th, President D. Roosevelt signed law, and Social Security was formed. From that, Social Security's done a lot of different things. It's been jello. When it was first put in place, and I have to kind of lower my excitement level here, because I understand Social Security along the way. It's our fault that it changed, because we voted it to change. The President didn't do it, Senate didn't do it, State didn't do it. So when it was originally put together, historically, it wasn't designed for all of us to get. It was designed to all of us pay in, and only those that needed for special needs or short-term that was going to get. It was kind of like Social Security is the oldest form of pay on the earth, aside of life insurance or annuities. Go back in the Bible, the king had taxpayers, and they went around and collected money from all the peasants. The guarantee was that if they paid, if they got hurt, weary, couldn't work anymore, the kingdom would then provide an income and a place for them to live. Today that's called a pensioner network index. It's the oldest form of income. Also, the rocket ship on that is a Social Security marketplace. Now, Social Security changed along the way. It moved. And it went to a point to where it was never going to be taxable, and then it became taxable. And then it was only going to be taxable as it went to a group of money. It's by itself, and it's your only form of income, you have no other assets, you'll never pay Social, you may not have any taxes. Then it got to be where everybody paid in and everybody got it. But it was built on a three-legged stool. Now we put more weight on it, expecting that stool to hold the weight of four legs. Because now a stool that was made that wasn't designed to pay out to everybody, now everybody pays into it. We voted to change. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but we put the weight on the three-legged stool and wonder why it's breaking. That's it. Because it's never been repaired. It's never been fixed. So the best thing you can do is understand how to use Social Security to benefit you personally. Because it may or may not be there, like you said. We don't know. Am I pretty confident that in this room, this age group here, that it isn't going to be affected by loss of Social Security? But I don't care politically who anybody voted for. I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I served in the military. I'll probably support any president in the office, whether I voted for him or not. That's where I stand. But if some of the laws go through, Social Security could be reduced to have that money moved. Differently than what Clinton did. He took money from the tobacco and the alcohol industry and balanced the budget. The new presidency wants to take money out of Social Security from current people and take that money and pay off debts. Whether that happens or not, who knows? Okay, but that could affect it. So planning is important. Okay, planning is important. I'm not saying it's going to. That would be a lot of change. Down to that happening. Let's look at yesterday and today. Social Security in itself, the difference between yesterday and today. What does that look like? Well, yesterday, the first check in 1940 was for $22.54. Who would be excited to get a check for $22.54? That was the first check. Well, she received it, an increase in 1950 and 1975, and in 100 she passed. That was the first check. This talks about the new tax. I've mentioned there's a new required minimum distribution. Does anyone know what that means? Required minimum distribution. Okay. It's for IRA vehicles, 401ks, Social Security, 403bs, 457s. It's an account that is tax deferred. Social Security is very much tax deferred. Okay. Then there's a required minimum distribution on tax deferred accounts of Social Security. That you can only leave it there for a period of time, and then you have to take it because the government wants to tax it. Okay. And again, they're going to get taxed on Social Security unless that's your only income. I spoke to a couple people earlier that had Social Security disability, that was their only income. Well, they'll never pay taxes because that's their only income. But once you get Social Security, you lump it into your pension and your 401k and your non-qualified money and your certificates of depreciation, and you put that into a pool. Now it's not a pool, it's taxed. Social Security will get taxed. Okay? But it's a rule that says that at 72 and a half, you have to take money from 401ks, 403bs, 457s you have to take it. You can no longer delay it. Okay, it was 70 and a half. Maximizing Social Security. Using, you know, you can write that down if you want. There's an online place you can go to where you can see your online statements. You can go in and you can register online. You can see what your money is going to look like. It'll tell you whether it is accurate or not. It'll tell you when Social Security is expected to go bankrupt, if things will change, if it's going to become insolvent. All these things are all in there that you can read. Okay, they're all there. And for me, I think it's important that you know what your picture looks like. You know, you're 62. You're 60, 50 hourly. I was going to say that. And so, you know, you might want to know for planning if you're figuring out, can I retire? I've had people that we've helped retire 6, 7 years before they thought they could. I've had people that have had to work 5 or 6 years longer than they did. We've had both ends. But if you want to know when you're going to retire, understand Social Security is going to help. Because if that's part of your income you need to understand, for planning, what does my Social Security look like? When my son got in that car accident, I got called at Friday at 11:45 p.m. at night. And he went to the hospital and seen 10 tubes coming out of him. I didn't have to worry about planning. Because I knew what was in front of me. I knew what this income looked like, what that income looked like, what was that. So for Social Security, it's good that you know. What does that look like? If I want to retire in 5 or 6 years, what's it going to look like? If I want to retire now? But if I don't, I mean, are you retired now? Okay, so are you retired now? Going. So, you know, what's your name? Jim. Jim's in a great situation because he's now planning for retirement. He wants to know what am I going to do? I've got a 401k, I've got a pension, I've got Social Security, I've got certificates of depreciation, I've got non-qualified money. I'm a great worker, I've done a great job all my life, but what do I do with all this? You know, the worst years of filling retirement is the first 2 to 3 years because they think they weren't allowed. They get a pension, they have the 401k, Social Security, woo! They spend all the money, and the tax bracket goes to the roof for the first 3 years because they don't have an advisor. Okay, that's kind of a hint. Yes, I think it's a pretty good one. I'm not shy of that. But it's important. And understanding Social Security and how we do strategies. Because it'll help you figure out when to draw Social Security and how you're going to protect your retirements. Do I draw here or do I draw here? Do I use Social Security to delay? Do I take Social Security and delay this? I mean, there's a whole strategy that we can use to help you build your assets. This right here. What is a full retirement age? Well, here's the one thing, you know, the example I'm going to give you. Full retirement age is going to work for when your birth year is. It's going to tell you when your income is, when your Social Security should technically be the highest it's going to be. And truthfully, 68 is generally most people's full retirement age. But if you delay it till 70, you can get a little bit of a bump. Not a lot, but you can actually get one. Okay? But the example I'm going to tell you here, and a friend of mine runs the office in Kalamazoo over on Greg Street. And, you know, they work with our office to help our clients and things. The one thing I'll tell you that's, does anyone work for Social Security here? No one does. Okay. Nobody will get upset. But, you know, a friend of mine that runs it, I was able to sit and go in his office. So I'm going to talk to these people all the time. He said, Greg, if these people want real answers, they're not going to get into the room. They're not going to come in and ask a question. He said, they're going to have to make an appointment and come in, but they're going to have their questions because they aren't going to be pumped. You're not going to be able to leave and goof up and go back and go, well, I was there, why didn't you tell me that? Because they're not legally bound to tell you anything. They're not accountants, they're not brokers, they're not advisors, they're not. So the example here, I had a client of mine that was at this one here. He filed and got his Social Security at 65 in 4 months. Now his full retirement age said 65 in 6 months, hasn't it? You think he was penalized by the early 2 months? For the lower monthly check? He was. You didn't know that. And he tried to blame it on the Social Security office on Greg Street. And their response was, we should have read your statement. That's not our job. We're not your accountant, we're not your advisor. Right or wrong, I don't necessarily agree with that. But the point is you're not going to get all your answers in the places where you would hope to find them. Okay? Taking benefits before your full retirement age, that just means that bucket is pouring a little slower, your income's going to be lower. Do you need to take it? Is there something? Write it down. When do I need to take my Social Security? If that's a question, write it down. Okay? Because I can't give you the answer until we know. And I like that nice, it's all sparkling. Keep checking that sparkle thing. I'm going over there. It's got on my eyes. Here we go. The beaver. Does anyone know the beaver family? Remember the beaver family? That perfect family. See, I'm still young enough or old enough, whatever that means to know who them are. That was the perfect family back then. there's some quick examples here that we can talk about where, you know, the Beaver said, you know, he was born in 1943, his full retirement age was 66. His benefits were $2,500 a month at full retirement age, okay? At age 62, that, if he did it earlier, it was only $1,875. So if you waited 4 years, the bucket poured slower, the bucket poured faster. And the spousal benefit was at $875. Spousal benefit can be different depending on the situation, okay? You might read that it's supposed to be 50% of what, there's a whole different stuff going on. His age 75 isn't half of 1870. But so there's a difference. You have to understand what your situation looks like, okay? So in this situation, that's what they're looking at if they were to retire. Well, what would it look like to break even? Is anyone ever really concerned about breaking even with Social Security? Jim, when you draw Social Security, is your biggest concern that you have to break even to get all your money back from the government? Or do you really?
I would like to.
You'd like to,
But at least break even, but you always can invest that money.
Exactly. Yep.
And make that a little more bigger, but would that be on my part only?
No. Break that down. That's a good question. You can give me the exact answer that one. Because most people do want to break even. And they can take that money and they can invest it because they've already paid taxes on it. There's a way you can actually get a tax deferred income after you pay that.
But not with federal government.
No.
Go with the private, companies, not private companies.
Okay, see how you got to start over there. That's a neat sign. Actually, people on ships want to make that for me. I got that in my office. They blast it. So yeah, there is a break-even point. Some people care about it, some people don't. But there is a break-even point, okay? And there is one for spouses too. The spousal benefit says that if you were to draw your full Social Security, and let's say you never had the amount of hours that you need to get Social Security, you could draw half this. Planning now says if something happens to him, then you lose yours and you get his, and now you lost him. You can't keep them both. So now you got to find a replace yours. So there's strategies here that you have to figure out. There's another strategy that says that if you had enough hours to draw Social Security and you had enough hours to draw Social Security, and you're both qualified to take Social Security, do you have to take yours at the same time as his? Or can he take his and you take half his and let yours delay? There's a whole bunch of ways to make that work, 107 different ways. Okay? Remember even Tiger Woods had a cat.
No wonder the book's so thick.
But it's the script that works for you. Okay? The benefits for a spouse, a non-working spouse, we just talked about that 50%. Age 62, the benefits they'll be reduced by 30% depending on their full retirement age. Spousal benefits are gender neutral. Somebody asked me one time, well, do men get more than women, or do women get more than men? No. Spousal benefits are gender neutral. Okay. Matter of fact, gender neutral in marriage now, initially, it doesn't matter. Social Security is either way. Okay. All that across the board is all gender neutral. June spousal benefit, we talked about that, it would be half. If, if Jim is getting $2,400 a month, and you were getting half of this, if he passes away and you weren't qualified to get any on your own, you would lose your half and take his full name. But then you have to find a replacement you lost, because when there's two people living in a house and one person passes away, the financial situation doesn't change. Bills don't go down, nothing stays the same. You would think it does, not unless you got a serious shopper in the house. And if Jim's a serious shopper, then you say, well, we don't want you to do this. Other than that, your lifestyle doesn't change. Your tax time goes up because the other spouse goes out and gets busy. Okay. Let's go through here. Has anyone here been divorced? Okay, has anyone been divorced for 10 years? You've been divorced for 10 years? Have you been divorced for 10 years?
You have to be married for 10 years?
Well, yeah, you have to be married for 10 years.
Okay.
So have you been married for 10 years?
No.
Have you been married? Were you married and then divorced after 10 years?
I was married for 20 years.
20 years, all right. And 26. 26. And how long were you married? 23. All right. Here's the poop on it. Just in general. All right. We'll just talk to the single people. Okay. Because the married people, there's a hoop. There's a verification. Okay. So the single people that were married for 10 years, and maybe I've been married. If your spouse is still alive, okay, this is key. If your spouse is still alive, okay, he's at the age of retirement to draw Social Security. And let's say you never worked the amount of hours because you were a great home wife, you raised the kids, 20 years, stay home, all that stuff, and you just didn't want work. Okay? You can actually draw half of his Social Security no matter what. You can even be remarried. He can. Okay, you'll never know. It won't affect him, you'll never know. He won't be contacted, you can do it. You know, if he dies, hey, shit. Right.
Would I see the difference?
No. Let's say that you two were married. Okay, I'm just looking at me, I'm getting stink eyes already. Just kidding, sorry. You know, and you divorced 10 years, you know, all that stuff. You know, married 10 years done. Now you're married to her, see, I got them back together. Okay, now you're single. You can actually draw Social Security off of him and he'll never know it won't affect him. I told you that for free. But I told you that for free, didn't I?
What if he's not a retired age? Can't do it. He has to be of his age.
Yep.
What is retirement age?
62. So there's some hoops for that. So I give you some of my secrets. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. That's kind of cool.
So you have to be retired.
Yeah.
You have to be left.
You
You
just,
have to be retired?
you just gotta be the age.
Oh, yeah, the age is still, not the what the difference is, right? Oh, okay, yeah.
But she's got a nice bright mask too. She's got a nice bright mask. I feel like I should have a bright mask. Okay, all right, here we go. Okay, so widow, we're gonna keep going through that. Are there any widows in here? No widows.
What?
Any widows? No widows. I don't need one. Any
Okay.
widowers?
So, I love one.
If she is selecting here,
Mhm.
and I know it used to be, but I don't know if that's true. Does she have to stay single?
Yes.
So if she remarries, then she doesn't get that benefit anymore.
No.
Unless.
Unless.
I have to say, I mean, what condition that she doesn't, switch she's drawing Social Security to
So
show.
Dan's mom.
That's a different question.
Yeah.
That one qualifies totally different. Yeah, that one qualifies totally different. You remember that 107 different ways you file?
Oh, okay.
Write that down, those are good questions. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Okay. Here's the formula. If you draw your Social Security while you're working, you can do that, okay? You're gonna be penalized a little bit, and here's how it works. Now, if you're drawing Social Security disability, you can work about 21 hours a week, or the pay that will max that before your Social Security is effective. Okay? But that's different than this one. General Social Security says this, at age 62, if you're working, it's gonna be reduced $2 for every $18,240 above. Okay? Then when you get your full retirement age, for that particular year, it's gonna be reduced $1 for every $3 above $48,600. Between full retirement age and after, there's no reduction. Whatever your full, some people say, well, isn't it 66, Greg? Well, it depends on what your Social Security full retirement is. Some people 64, some people 65, 66 and 5 months. So whatever your full retirement age, after that, there's no reduction. Okay? But you will be affected if you're not at that age, so you have to understand. Okay. Taxation on benefits, I'll go, if you have questions on taxes on Social Security, write it down, okay? That's easier just to sit and talk with you about that, because this is a whole seminar itself, on how that works. It's changing this coming year. A lot of that could change a little bit on what happens out in the world today. It just, and situations are different on if you're drawing off your spouse or ex-spouse, all that stuff, so you have to know income levels, all that stuff. So if you have a question on taxation on the benefits of Social Security, write it down, and we can go over that, okay? Government pension of offset. Well, for example, if the Beaver's wife was a nurse and was receiving $2,100 a month from her non-covered hospital job, the spousal benefit would be reduced by $1,400, which is 2/3 of $2,100. So I'm gonna read it again. If the Beaver's wife was a nurse receiving $2,100 a month from her non-covered hospital job, the spousal benefit would be reduced. So she would not, so if her benefit was $2,100, which meant she was still working, the spousal benefit would be reduced because of the non-covered. Some of the new rules. Medicare and Social Security, does anyone deal with Medicare? You will at 65. Medicare Part A and Part B. Okay. Are you deal with that? Okay. Right? If you have questions about that, there's Part A, there's Part B, there's D, there's E, there's different stuff you got to do. If you have questions about that, write that down. The difference says this, is that simply put, that if you retired from a company and you got a plan of retirement, you're gonna need a supplemental coverage in retirement to pay what your pension, what your job doesn't pay, okay? So when you hit 65, you're gonna qualify for Part A and Part B. Part A and Part B now becomes your primary insurance. Your company coverage becomes second, and now you're fully covered, okay? Right? There's different things in there. There's a prescription program, there's another vision and year program that they pop in there. If you have questions on that, that's all part of planning.
And it's not free.
No, it's not free. No, all this is taken out of your Social Security. So Part A and Part B is gonna be taken out as a reduction on your Social Security, automatically, okay? So it is gonna be reduced, so, $200 a month, okay? What else do we got? Restoring Social Security, I won't spend a lot of time on this. I find sometimes I get people upset on this one, so I apologize. I'm not going to spend that a lot of hours. To me, these are just, I mean, people are asking me, how do you restore Social Security? How can we get it to where on the statement it doesn't say that it's been denied? How do we do it? Well, one of the ways with the new presidency, again, I support any president in the office. I served in the military and I'm proud of it. But one of the things that they want to do is reduce Social Security for active people that are on it and take that money out and put it in other areas. Well, there's one way, reduce the benefits. Okay? The other way is increase payroll taxes. Self-employed, I don't like that. I gotta pay more stuff to people. My wife doesn't like that. She's back there. But it's all right. That would be one way to do it. Okay, give it a take. The main stats for benefits, some people have mixed feelings. If you're on marijuana or doing drugs, for this experiment with it, that if you're not passing drug tests consistently, you're not gonna be able to get it. Unless it's prescription drugs. If it's legal, that's fine. But if you're doing narcotics, cocaine, whatever else is illegal. And I got a card for buying a can of spray paint the other day. Yeah, because a clerk told me I could go home and snort. Well, my son shoots, he was shooting milk jugs for frozen. And I bought yellow caution, and I said, do you think I'm going to snort that? I face it big yellow. You know that I can snort. So, but yeah, so it was interesting. Increase retirement age. Well, we've done that. Some of the retirement ages have been increased. That's happened already. Increase or eliminate earnings cutoff for Social Security payroll taxes. So you can either increase or lower the earnings. That would have to be done. In 2020, the difference was $147,700. If they would have done all that, that's all they would have got ahead. Yesterday we had an amazing seminar. We had a lot of good people show up.
Yes. Although other people did not show up.
All the people didn't show up, but we also kind of mixed and had another gal that some folks we talked to us about super app opportunity as well. And we look to be following up today to see if we can gain her as a customer.
Right.
So we're going to keep moving forward, guys. Hey, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next